Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. It's Fatima, and if you're new here, I do K-pop commentary and whatever I want. And if you like it here, subscribe. If not, that's okay. So in today's video, as you can tell, I'm going to be talking about K-pop stan Twitter and why ARMYs are so terrible, or so people say. So I wanna, if you don't know, or if you're not on K-pop stan Twitter, um, it it's a very interesting and overwhelming place. Um, there's lots of people on Kpop stan Twitter, obviously because of the influx of groups. Everybody's on Twitter standing their groups, and BTS being the biggest group in the world also has the biggest fandom on K-pop stan Twitter. So as I'm filming this video, BTS has, let's round it up to 27 million Twitter followers. Now they do have like some celebrity followers, some official pages that follow them. So for the sake of making this make sense, what I'm gonna say later on, let's take out the celebrities that follow BTS, the official pages that follow BTS, a lot of the fake accounts that aren't active anymore. So let's say I'm gonna take out 2 million, which is probably a lot more than needed, but my point will still stand. So let's say there's 25 million ARMYs that are following BTS on Twitter who are active every day. So with that being said, there aren't any other like K-pop groups that have that much of a reach on Twitter. Like, it's like there's K-pop Twitter and then there's ARMY Twitter, which could rival K-pop Twitter on its own. So one thing you always see on K-pop stan Twitter is, oh, ARMYs are so toxic, ARMYs are the worst fandom ever, BTS does not deserve their fans, or the fans don't deserve BTS. We hear a lot of that every day, and sometimes it's within reason, because yes, there are some ARMYs on ARMY Twitter that are out of control. When I say out of control, it's like your account should be taken down and you should never be allowed on the internet again, because you just do not know how to stop talking. You know what I mean? But then if you really look at it though, the way that some ARMYs act is the same way that there's those types of people in every fandom. But going back to the number I mentioned before, is 25 million ARMYs active on Twitter, mostly every day. There's not that number or even close to that number in any other fandom. So I'm gonna do a little, I'm a multi-fandom myself. Like I stand so many groups and I listen to so many groups, and I have like followers on my Twitter from pretty much all the different groups that I stan. And I see this with every one of those fandoms. Maybe a couple, which are like groups or fandoms that I'm in that are like really underrated and really small, that I don't see the problematic people in those as much. But in all my other ones, I see it all the time. The same thing that ARMYs get crucified for every day is the same thing that I see in all the other fandoms. So this is my thing. All of those things are wrong. They're wrong. When people put down other groups, when people like devalue the achievements of other groups, when people attack like a group's or a member of a certain group's looks or talent or lack thereof, it's not right. You'll never see me, if you go on my pages, you never see me do something like that. Groups that I don't like or don't listen to or don't stand, I'm not talking about them. Like, I mind my business. It's supposed to be fun, you know? So all that is not right. But to go on with the narrative that ARMYs are the worst because we see so much more of them is like problematic in itself. It's this whole thing, like, it's definitely not equal to other issues in the world, but it's the whole thing where like you don't like to be we don't like to be generalized as K-pop fans, like, oh, all K-pop fans are 12-year-old girls who are obsessed with these groups, and that's like mainly talking about the boys, where all these like little preteens obsessed with these boys who don't know who we are, this is that, when like there's so much diversity in K-pop, like people who like K-pop when it comes to like race, age, gender, everything. So that doesn't make sense. So why does it make sense for people to like wake up every single day and make it their point to talk about ARMYs this, ARMYs that, ARMYs that? It honestly, like, it doesn't make sense, because like I said, I'm a multi fan, and I have my Twitter has all, like, I see stuff from other groups all the time, but I always see so much more BTS stuff because I do have a lot of like ARMY mutuals who aren't problematic, by the way, like, because I'll get to that. So I see a lot more BTS stuff. It doesn't mean that I stan the other people less. It just means that BTS has more fans on Twitter, and as someone who likes them, I just happen to like have a lot more people that I've become friends with who also like them. So a lot of times when there's an argument or an ARMY account says something really problematic, it's not usually. There's a lot of times that I've seen problematic ARMY tweets that are problematic, like, I shouldn't have done those quotes. They are problematic, or they're rude, or they're mean. But then when I like go down through the thread or the comments or anything, I'm seeing that it's a response to something that someone from another fandom had said. So it's like, what's the truth here? You know what I mean? It's not like, okay, yeah, two negatives don't always make a positive, but you can't blame some people who are like confrontational or looking for something to say for like responding to the stuff that you say, because sometimes I do see it. Sometimes before I even see an ARMY tweet, I'll see a tweet from someone from a different fandom saying something about BTS or ARMYs unprovoked. Then they get attacked, and then it's like, oh my god, ARMYs are so toxic. They all attacked this one person, bullied them off that. What did you say before that? What were you saying before that? Let's rewind the tape. Like, did you not just say something that was completely unnecessary, unprovoked? And ARMYs find everything. So they found you. And even if people think they're like slick with like censoring words or names or something, people will still find you. People will still find you. Because like, let's say someone like me, I'm multi-fandom, and you're saying something, or you're in private or something, but we follow each other, and I see you say something, you like, if I was someone who would like hunt the tweet down and go report it to like all of ARMY Twitter, then they would have found you, and that would have been it for you. I personally like don't do that. I keep myself out of the drama because I'm there for BTS, not the fans, not the fan drama. But I think as like an ARMY and as a fan of other groups, it gets kind of sickening right now when I always hear like, oh, when people are like, oh, like you're like you're a good ARMY, like you're a chill ARMY. I'm like, that doesn't, I'm not like, oh yeah, like I'm not like other ARMYs. Like, who are we? It's not that serious, you know what I mean? And the only thing I can say is like, don't provoke, like don't provoke them, because there's this thing where like everyone's like, focus on your faves, this that, and like ARMYs do focus on their faves. It shows in the results that we provide. It shows how we run certain things that like the fandom, when I say we, I don't mean like, I'm saying like the fandom puts together. Like, we do mind our business, because if we didn't, all the things that we've achieved wouldn't have been possible. There's people who do talk about ARMYs all the time, like it's part of their daily routine to wake up every day and tweet something about ARMYs or BTS, and their faves do not achieve the same things. If you had put that work in, instead of spending time talking about ARMYs, we could have been it could have been equal. This could have been like a fair battle. You know what I mean? So, I don't know. I really don't know what to tell you guys. And this is not me sitting here saying like, oh, ARMYs are so good because I'm an ARMY and this and that, because I stay out of the drama. But when I see an ARMY really cross the line and say something completely ridiculous, I call it out. You see me like quote tweet or something and tell them they're stupid. Yeah, because that was unnecessary. And I do the same thing with anybody. So the main problem here, I think, is because people aren't holding everybody to the same standard. If it doesn't matter what fandom a person is, if they're on Stan Twitter being like the worst person ever, call them out no matter what. Because there's also a double standard. We see a lot of times when like someone is doing the same thing as something that an ARMY would have done, and they don't get the same amount of flack, but ARMY does it, and the comments or the quote tweets are all toxic, here they are again, another day, blah blah blah. No, let's hold everybody accountable. You can do that, but do it at an individual level. Like, if that person did something toxic, call out that person, call them toxic. Don't sit here ARMY. And if another person from another fandom does it, call them out individually. Don't call out their fandom. That, like, to me, it's like really simple, because this should not be our lives. That's the problem. Stan Twitter is not my life. However, Stan Twitter is some of y'all's entire life. And that's sad. It's sad. You get like all of your happiness, your bad days, your frustration is all dependent on being on Stan Twitter. That's sad. Find a hobby, get a job. I know most of us are not working right now, but do something. Find something else to do. Stream your faves. Stream and listen to music. Watch some TV. Watch a movie. Develop a hobby. Sleep. Be lazy. But don't make Stan Twitter your whole life. That's sad. That's actually really sad. And then I don't want it to get lost that there are people who use this ARMY thing to like say bad things about BTS, like, you know what I mean? Because it's like this big bandwagon. So and the double standard is that you say something about them, it's fine because they're so bad and they're so toxic. And there's people who use that so that they can sneak in some little jabs at BTS themselves. You're not slick. I know we're not stupid. I know I can tell. I can tell what you're trying to do. It was smart when you thought about it, but in execution, we see what you're doing. You don't have to like BTS. No one's forcing you to. No one is like, they might be the greatest, but not everybody likes them. Not everybody has to like them. That's fine. Their music doesn't work for everyone. I have a lot of friends that don't like BTS's music, or just like don't feel the need to stay on the group. That's fine. You don't have to. But you don't, what you're not gonna do is use this like the number one scapegoat of ARMY, of Stan Twitter, of hating ARMYs, so like you can throw jabs at BTS. Watch yourself. And then if you do that stuff, would you really expect people to not like come for you? Because they will. They will. And you should have seen that coming before you said something. If I'm gonna say something like controversial, and I know people are gonna, if they find it, people are gonna come for me, I'm ready to take that. I'm ready to take that. Either I'm gonna take the L and go, or I'm gonna fight back. But I'm not gonna sit here and cry when I knew what I was gonna say was gonna bring this type of attention. It's really simple. So yeah, Stan Twitter can be toxic. It hasn't been toxic for me per se, because I'm quick to unfollow, mute if I don't like what you say. If I don't like, we can't have different opinions. We can. If we don't get along, you don't like the people I like, I don't like the people you like, and that's gonna stand in between me and you being cool, we just unfollow, block me, and that's it. Move on. I'm on my Twitter just talking to my friends, talking to my mutuals, being happy, standing my groups. It's really not hard to do that. It isn't. So ARMYs are not terrible. ARMYs are not horrible. ARMYs are not toxic. There are toxic people who happen to be ARMYs, and there are toxic people who happen to be in every single other fandom. But to use that, and I've never agreed with that, because before ARMYs became this big, it was XOLs. And everyone hated XOLs because of the way they treated people, because they were the biggest. They were the biggest. There were so many of them, and everybody was against them. And before that, and before that, and before that, it's like that all the time. So the bigger the fandom, of course, there's going to be more visibility for the bad people, but don't use that to make the whole fandom, which to me, I think the thing is like, the fandom name and the people in the fandoms are so important to the artists, and for you to deduce that kind of, this is not the word for it, but it kind of belongs to the artist, and for you to deduce it to like, they're toxic, they made fun of me on Twitter. Child, get it together. That's what I have to say. That's what I have to say, because it really gets tiring, and it really gets old. It's boring. Find something else to say. Well, that's it for today. If you liked it, tell me in the comments. Let's start a discussion, and we'll see you next time. If you want to talk to me outside of here, you can find me on Twitter, so we can be best friends. That's it. Bye.